Since I was a kid, I've been fascinated by stories. Not just the what, but the how. How lives change. How moments unfold. I realize the answers, they aren't always in books, but they're with people too. That's why we started this show, to uncover the extraordinary in the everyday, one story at a time. Welcome to ACTV Storytellers. This is a show where we chronicle the lives of fellow Anderson Countyans who've had positive, influential lives in our community. And if you saw our first show with Clark Wormsley and Jody Wright, we talked about interviewing coaches and athletes and doctors and civic community leaders and people of faith. And Jody and Clark did so well, but we thought that if we got this guy, he would encompass all those things. And Dr. Sexton has graciously agreed to sit in for our second episode of Storytellers. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the storyteller stage, Dr. Curtis Sexton.
Curtis Cecil Sexton.
Cecil Sexton.
My grandmother was a Cecil.
Wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of your grandmother, I know all this started in Scott County.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So talk to us a little bit about what it was about that community and how that community and its people impacted you.
Well, we didn't have Walmarts and grocery stores. We had one that wasn't too far from us, but we didn't rely on them because we raised everything on that farm. We had 2 cows we milked. We had 2 horses that we used before we got any tractors or anything. And we broke the ground with them. And we also plowed the corn and the garden, and they pulled the wagons. And so it was from, I didn't never know we were going to advance as far in agriculture and farming as we have. Everything then was done with manual effort, not tractors and all that. Later on, my grandfather got a little cub tractor right before I left the house there. Man, I'm telling you, that's how I learned to drive, was that little cub tractor. And that made a lot of difference in the world, but I still like riding those horses. We had one that you go, and he'd just jump off and take. And I think before we got him, he'd had some guy was a little bit of that too much, and he'd whip his horse, and so. Right. And that was the horse we got. But the other was very, very calm, and everything was fine. So that really was a good mix for them, and we used them both. And I must say that my growing up years, and my dad being a master gardener, he was the 8th of 10 children, and his dad died in the coal mine explosion when his dad was only 52, and he was like 8 or 10 years old. So. And so he's something else. So so were my mother's parents, Euless and Ella Hewitt. Ella had to drop out of school after the 2nd grade because she had 2 boys. She had 2 brothers. Mm-hmm. That when her mother died, she had to become their mother. One of them went on and became the Attorney General for the state of Kentucky.
Wow.
And the other one was the Bob Swisher in coal mining.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who Bob Swisher is.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
And so it was just when you see people like that have come out of there and done well, you know that you have dreamed of something, you can do it. Well, that's the way it was. My dad, my oldest brother, he was really good with his hands. I mean, he could break a bicycle down in all the parts and put it back together. Now, I didn't have that, but because I was watching him all the time. But he did all that. He went on and became a great dentist, and up in Morristown, and he brought in a new level of dental care to East Tennessee. He really did, because he married a girl that was a dental hygienist, and they were in preventing dental cavities. They didn't pull teeth. Mm-hmm. They tried to get people to come in and do their preventive dentistry.
Right.
and stay ahead of the cavities. If they had any, they took care of them.
Sounds like y'all learned some work ethic up there.
Yeah, yeah. His name was Oswald Sibley Sexton.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad's
I've
name
met
was,
him before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad's name was Oswald Stanton Sexton. And
what were some of the principles and characteristics that you felt like that taught you moving forward in your life?
Well, I think we never thought that we can't do anything. We always felt like we could do whatever we set our mind on, because that's the environment we grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a possibility, and also that teamwork was better than selfish work, and that to get along in life, you needed to also be a strong Christian. My dad was a strong, praying. He was a man that they always called on to lead prayer.
Mm-hmm.
He had a master. He finally kept working on his degree. He had a master's in 45 hours. He had a bachelor's to start with, and kept working on it at UT. And his the professors he had over there were younger than he was. They did their best to try to talk him into getting on the faculty over there. And he said, "I just can't do it. I got too many responsibilities at home. I'm going back." But he got his master's in 45 anyway, instead of going on for the PhD. They said they'd give him a job over there, and he said, "I just can't do it." And he said, "Even if I had it, I couldn't do it."
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we had that kind. And my mother was an English teacher, and she also taught shorthand and writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I never was a good pensman, but my dad was, though, and my mother was too. And I could show you their writing today. You watch. I could show you the signature of my dad. There's no way that anybody is going to sign his name like he signed it.
No forgery.
Yeah, if you missed school and you had somebody write out
a note for the teacher.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, they couldn't duplicate him, and I've still got his signature. There's no way I'm going to try. I didn't try to funny up my. But if you look at that, you can see it's O.S. Sexton, Oswald S. Sexton, and my mother. She was a very neat person who taught shorthand and typing, and she had her own. They could show me 1,000 pictures of both of their signatures, and I'd tell you who they were. Which one it was. I could pick them out of there, So
how did sports get into your life with all this stuff going on?
Sports. We had a big yard there. It's where Scott High School is now. That was our farm.
Yeah.
And we had a big yard, and we had big gardens, and we had a barn and milked 2 cows, and had 2 horses. We loved to race those horses, and. We didn't ride. I couldn't ride with the saddle on because we didn't have any saddles to start with. So we rode bareback like the Indians did, and it was no problem at all. But I guess the thing about it is the opportunity was there to do a lot of different things, and we did it, not knowing that was going to be helpful. Mm-hmm. I never thought there was anything that I couldn't do if I set my mind to it, like high jumping. I didn't have as I said, they didn't have the Fosbury Flock, but I still high jumped 6 feet 8 inches, which wasn't bad for a 5 feet 8 inch guy.
The one thing I did not think we would talk about in this interview today
yes, sir.
Is the Fosbury Flop. But I know what that is. I have read about it.
Yeah.
He went over backwards.
Backwards.
Yeah.
And that just raised it right on up, because you could do the Fosbury Flop and jump higher than you could.
Yeah.
Doing the scissors thing.
Yeah.
But anyway. So I've been it's been a very interesting life to see progress.
Well, I have to ask you something because I know you went to Tennessee Tech I thought you went on a track scholarship, but I've heard that some of it was on a basketball scholarship.
Yeah. I got a half scholarship to play basketball, freshman basketball, and I had a jump shot, and I could high jump. So I lettered in basketball and track. They tried to get me to play football, but I only weighed 145 pounds. And a lot of these guys that got married at UT, back then if you got married, you couldn't play football in college at UT. So they would come to Tennessee Tech. And there was no way I was going to be a halfback with a 220-pound linebacker back there. I'd box my block off. So I gave up football.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to work out for you, but I have to ask you this question because I didn't, and I've made some calls up in Scott County this week.
Yeah.
I heard you were a boxer up there. Is that true? Did you box?
Yes, I did.
I got to hear this. How did that happen?
Well, Dad had these boxing gloves at home, but they were not these little ones like came out later. These were the ones that big and saw. They were pretty good size. They come around and back here in the time and everything. And so anyway, you couldn't really knock somebody out with those. They had pads, but it was good for your agility and just movement and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Dad put in I don't know if he did it because I was doing pretty good and or not, but he grew up with the same kind of stuff that he taught us, a lot of it, because he was the 8th of 10 children. Anyway, so he got him to have a boxing match up there. So I had a good experience, but it was after the second match I had, this guy caught me and knocked me down. First round. I thought, well, okay. So I got up and I beat the fool out of him the next 2 rounds and won.
Where did you train?
I had a big brother, and we had boxing gloves.
Okay. So you weren't going to Golden Gloves?
No, they tried to get me to it. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to Golden Gloves, no. That's over in Knoxville.
Yeah.
We couldn't run back and forth to Knoxville at that time. They didn't have these 4-lane highways then.
Right.
It's a long trip over to Knoxville and back.
Sure.
And so anyhow, I'm glad all that worked out that way. There's no way that I have any criticism at all of my life in Scott County or my growing up or my parents or my uncles and aunts and my first cousins. We're just been a very blessed, productive group of people.
So did you know when you were growing up, did you know you wanted to go into, how did you decide you wanted to go into medicine? And what made you pick Tennessee Tech?
Well, my brother decided early on that he was going to be a dentist, wanted to go to dental school. He could do anything with his hands, which paid off. He brought a new level of dental care into East Tennessee and Morristown, particularly whenever he came. It was preventive dentistry.
Right.
And he married a dental hygienist.
Mm-hmm.
And they were some kind of pair because they struck out to prevent cavities and dentistry, and even on me, I've got stuff that he took care of still in my mouth.
Did he charge you for it or give it to you for free?
No, I got it free, but
okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah, but anyhow, so that was really good, and his wife was really really good. We lost Sib about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and he was my hero always, and. His wife, I think, died before he did, though, didn't she? 2 weeks before he did, or something like that. So, anyhow, this says there was Sib. Well, the first one died at 3 days old. The first child they had, and it was another 3 or 4 years before they had my older brother Sibley.
Right.
Oswald Sibley, named him after Dad, and Sibley came out of Kentucky. One of the big influential guys up there then had a son named Sibley. Joe, his name was Joel something. Joel. Anyway, but he had grown up and was friends with my grandparents. They'd grown up together over in Joe Hewitt was his name. The Hewitts came out of. If you go to Capitol Hill, turn right instead of going on through Huntsville. You'll go all that thing between there and that road that leads through Paint Rock and on up to Oneida Steel.
Yeah.
That's where the Hewitts lived.
Okay.
And
my wife's from that area. I've been up there several times.
Yeah, there's they're buried up there. My parents are buried there.
Okay.
And there's a little church right there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, the presence of the Lord in our lives has always been
It's been important to you, your faith.
Very prevalent, important. Jesus first.
Yeah. So how'd you get to Tech? How did you get that? Because not all roads from Scott County lead to Tennessee Tech, but yours did. How did you get there?
I don't know for sure, but I had the choice of going to other colleges, and my dad knew some of the professors at UT. We kept working on his master's and everything, but he sort of felt like that. My brother had gone there, and my first cousin had gone there, and then one of them got in dental school and one in law school and so forth. So he thought that would be a good place, and it was.
Yeah.
I think it was a better education than I could have gotten anywhere else back in that day, because we had some really senior professors, and they still had the energy, you know. And so it was just a natural to go there. I never even considered anywhere else, and I did play freshman basketball.
Yeah.
Because I could jump up and touch the rim. I had a great jump shot. And I could run the fast break like nobody else could.
Yeah.
If I had one on either side, you know.
Sure.
And so I did really quite well. But after that first year, Coach said, well, I think I played, I can't remember if I played sophomore ball or not. I don't think I did, because I think I got in medical school pretty young. And I think he said, Curtis, I'm not going to be able to keep you another year, because I'm going to put somebody else that's going to be here the full 4 years.
Right.
I just can't do it. And I said, so I just played independent ball there. That's okay with me.
Yeah.
You know, I shot around.
Well, I never saw you play, but I got to see Shelley and Wade and Jenny play, and if you played like that, that's pretty good. I've seen some of their games, and that was pretty good.
Yes, sir.
They must have gotten that skill from somebody.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I don't know or not, but I guess we played a little basketball or something.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, we had a goal on a tree, didn't we?
So
down between us and the barn.
So I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Do you remember Brian Atkins?
Oh, surely.
Okay, well, he wanted me to ask you if you remembered this. He told me that you used to come down to Lake City Middle School when they would have the faculty-student ball game in your doctor scrubs.
That's
and
right.
come out on the court in your doctor scrubs
right.
and play.
That's right.
Is that true?
True.
Did you win or lose against the students?
Against the students?
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually won. You kidding?
Well, he said that was true, but I just wanted to see if that's what you would say.
Yeah.
So that's true.
That's true.
In your scrubs.
That's right.
So how did you get to medical school? How did that happen? How did you decide? When did you decide you wanted to be a doctor?
Well, I always wanted to do something that was be helpful to other people, and Dad sort of wanted me to go into law, and we had some very strong lawyers in Huntsville that time, very strong. One of them became the second most powerful lawyer in the congressman. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, Baker,
Howard Henry.
Yes, sir.
My mother was his second grade teacher. And,
I didn't know that.
And his dad wanted to send me to get me into West Point, and so I was willing to do it. And I said, well, what happens if I go there? And he said, well, you have to go in the military for. It's automatic that once you go in the military for. I said, well, I want to go to medical school. I'm not going to do that. I didn't tell him that, but that's what I decided to do. Made the right decision, I think.
I think so too. So when you got into
medical, I couldn't be a Howard Henry Baker in my mind. Okay.
You didn't want to be a lawyer?
No, I wanted to be. No, he wanted me to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
If you saw Howard Henry when he was 25 years old, he defended this lady who had been molested by her husband, kept beating her around, slapping her around, and all this, that, and the other. And they were on the streets of Onala.
Right.
And he started doing that to her. She had a gun in her purse. She pulled it out and shot him dead right there on the streets of Onala.
Yeah. Wow.
And so she had, of course, had to be tried.
Sure.
Well, guess who represented her? This 25-year-old Howard Henry Baker. He made. Oh man, I'm telling you.
So she had a good lawyer.
yeah. That was. But he was so good. I knew I could not. I didn't think I could be that good of a lawyer. But I really, and my uncle was a lawyer. My best cousin, first friend, became a lawyer. Charlie Sexton. We lost Charlie a year or so ago. They were all good, but I guess I prayed a lot about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I just never felt like that was what I was supposed to do. I'd be going against what God had prepared for me.
So when you got out of med school, how did you get, because I do not know this story at all, how did you get from Scott County, Tennessee Tech, and then open a hospital in Lake City? How did that happen?
Well, I was doing I went to Tennessee Tech, and then I went to medical school in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of the university then, you know.
Right.
And worked at the West Tennessee TB Hospital. I got a job doing histories and physicals after we learned how to do histories and physicals
Mm-hmm.
after fourth quarter medicine. I got a job at the West Tennessee TB Hospital doing that on their new patients and everything, which
Right.
saved us a lot of money. And I never ever to this day have tested positive for TB because I did everything you're supposed to do.
Right.
I think that that was really good. I probably wouldn't have met my wife if I hadn't. But because she had a job over at John Gaston Hospital, which is a charity hospital there, and I was making rounds with the resident over there one day and they had these where you put your records and everything sort of back in a little place like this here, and
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there in a rocking in one of those swivel chairs, you know, that's got
Mhm.
all these loosey seats on those things on the bottom you slide around in. This beautiful blonde-headed girl come walking down through there, and she was carrying a tray full of blood samples to the lab. She had a job too,
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to get up 'cause I was going to whistle at her, you know. So I got up, I tripled over that chair and fell on the floor, and she got to life. She just kept on marching. I asked that resident, I said, "Who was that?" He says, "That's one of our girlfriends." I said, "Well, what's her name?" So I called her that night. Her name was Carol Jo Inman
Mm-hmm.
from Greenwood, Mississippi. I called her that night, asked her if she wanted to go to Bellevue Baptist Church on a Wednesday night, because they fed all the college students there. You didn't have to pay a bill. So she went for that.
So you set the trap.
Well, so we went for that. So we had a good time, and it just took off from there. And we've been married now. We got married right after she got out of nursing school, and I got out of medical school.
Wow.
And we went to Columbia, South Carolina, did an internship,
Yeah.
and then
This is a long and winding road to get back to Lake City. I didn't know all this. Because when I was born, you were already, the hospital was already there, and I was born in that hospital.
I know it.
Dr. Burrell signed my birth
He
certificate.
delivered you, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
And I
I
think there's
signed
been
a
some
bunch
people
of-
that regretted it ever since.
Well, the part of my internship was I was able to work with this guy who was one fantastic OBGYN doctor. And I learned a lot from him, and he let me do some stuff. So I was really prepared to very well
Mhm.
to deliver babies and do episiotomies, repair, and all that kind of stuff. You don't know what that is, but nevertheless. And then I worked with a plastic surgeon. Man, I could sew up a laceration, and I still have them today. Look here, Doc. I'm supposed to. Can you see where that scar is? You know, because sometimes if it's nasty, you had to do a subcutaneous stitches and bring the skin together, and then you could get a better union without scarring
Mhm.
as much.
So, did you and Dr. Burrell open that hospital together? Or
No, it was already there.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, I had. I was trying to think. Seemed like I'd air evac'd a patient from where I was in the military out in California to Walter Reed, I believe, and it was on a military plane. And I asked them if they could drop me off at the Knoxville airport, and I'd get back out to California commercially if I needed to. And they said, "Sure, Doc, we can drop you off there." So they dropped me off, and they were down in Madisonville at that time. So
how long did you work at the Lake City Hospital? How long was that open?
It was open for quite a few years after we got there. It was a 25-bed hospital that had been started by this doctor that came out of Elk Valley. I can't remember his name, but he died at age 52, and Dr. Burrell and what was the hospital administrator's name? Anyway, they bought it together.
Okay.
And then, but the guy that had been practicing with him went back to work up in Kentucky for the coal mines because he could do better, and that was in. So when I evacuated that patient, my brother told me that he was doing an internship over at UT that there was an opening in Lake City and they needed a new doctor, just a guy up there by himself. So I went on up there, and the rest is history.
So that's how it started.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Never
Went
heard
on
that
up there
story.
and told him I'd be there as soon as I got,
Yeah. I had no idea. Never heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, because when I was born, you were just already there.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've
had
been there
been,
for a while.
had been there for a while.
Yeah.
So,
How old are you?
I am 54.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess you see. I was trying to think how many years I've been there. That was. I don't think you were born when I went there. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm 86 now, so I don't think you were.
Right. So, have you ever thought about how much good you did out of that little hospital in that little town? How many people that got medical care because you opened that, you were there at that hospital, and how many, have you ever thought about that? How many people you impacted?
Well, a lot of them didn't have anything. Didn't have any insurance. They didn't. And I knew if I made $1 that they put on their record out there, we'd be billing them every month. It was going to cost me money.
Right.
So I just write no charge on there and let them go. It's better than spending money on trying to collect something I knew I couldn't collect,
Yeah. You helped a lot of people that probably wouldn't have gotten care if you hadn't been there. And I know some of them, and some of them have probably been at my family reunions a time or two that you took care of. That
we tried to do what we tried to do what we were trained to do and be generous.
And you were. Did you ever get paid in like bushels of corn?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was pretty. Yeah, they'd bring in corn or watermelon or cantaloupes or beets. All your vegetables that you grew, and that was better than getting cash, as far as I was concerned. Didn't have to send out any statements either.
Well, I know some of those people that put some of that stuff on that back door there that came into your office.
Yeah.
I've seen some people put some stuff back there before.
Yeah.
That's you really made an impact. So, what's been the most rewarding? And I know it's been a long career for medicine for you, but what's been some of the most rewarding things that being a doctor that you've received from that career?
Ooh, boy, I don't know when to stop if I start. I would say that having my prayers answered on my way to serious accidents, problems that we got back then, and being able to handle it or get it handled.
Right.
But for example, the most severe kind would be somebody who's in congestive heart failure. They couldn't breathe because their heart had failed and their lungs were filled up with fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could get an IV going on them, you could give them a mercurial diuretic and get it out of there. But that had some side effects. But later on, this Lasix came in. Man, Lasix was a great gift to us as the name of the drug. I forget what the generic name was.
Mm-hmm.
But you could give them that. It would do just as good as the mercurial diuretics without any deleterious effects. So and you could just watch them putting their bladder getting full and so forth.
So saving those people's lives.
Oh gosh, yes. We made a difference. We didn't lose very many of them then, but so we'd get them over the hump there, and then we'd try to get them to a cardiologist as soon as we could. And but even the stuff was going on and also wasn't as sophisticated as it later became.
Mm-hmm. So did you use your military career to help with your medical training, or was it
everything I did helped?
Yeah.
Prayer helped the most.
So did you not go into the military until after medical school? Did you go? Was it you went to medical school and then went to the military?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the military training and all those internships. I mean,
yeah.
What did all those things teach you that prepared you to be the doctor?
Well, boy, there's so many things. I guess I guess you were in something where you could give yourself away.
Mm-hmm. And you found that fulfilling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes we charged for it, and sometimes we didn't.
I know that is true.
Yeah.
I remember you won't remember this, but you and I were in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes, sir.
On a mission trip, and I was a kid. I don't know how old I was. I don't know, maybe 18, 20, somewhere around in there. And there was a bunch of us sitting outside talking on a Joy Singer trip, and people began to leave and go to their separate ways. And, you know, I had always known you as Dr. Sexton, kind of overseeing, caring for people in Lake City. And me and you were sitting on the sidewalk, and you
Really?
looked over at me and you said, you know, I wonder sometimes if I could have done something else. You said, this friend and this friend's doing this at this hospital in, you know, Texas, and this guy's running this thing, and this person's doing this. And you said, I wonder if I could have done something else. You remember that?
No.
And I sat there the whole time, and I thought, well, Lord, what would have happened to us if Dr. Sexton did not come here? I mean, like, how would people have gotten medical care?
Yeah.
How would the people in our town, what would they have done? Because I remember walking up to your hospital when I was in middle school for sports physicals. And you used to line us up. You used to line us up in a room and just slide your chair down the group of boys and having us turning our head to the right or left and cough. And you took care of the half of Lake City Middle School in your office. Do you remember those days?
Not as vividly as it was, but looking back on it, you know, they're in the recesses of my mind.
Yeah. So what made you want to be so involved in your community? Because in your life you served on school boards. You've been very active in church life, in community life, and your professional life has been giving back, but you've done that in other things too. What was motivational for you about that?
Well, I guess my dad would be my hero there, and his brothers. And
how did you get involved in the Joy Singers? I don't know this story. I just know that I started singing, and you were one of our leaders. I don't know how that happened. How did you get involved with that?
Well, you know what it stands for, don't you? Joy.
Yeah.
Jesus, ours, yours.
Yeah, I remember.
My wife came up with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus, ours, yours.
Yeah.
That's what she told me last night, I think it was. Well, I'm sure she had some help, but I don't know if it was all this. But joy, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was joy. You know, if you're singing, you're joyful.
Yeah.
And we had the right person as a choir leader, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Judy Bates.
Yes, sir.
What a gal.
Yeah.
She's just recently she's trying to step down now, I think. I think she may
I don't
have.
think she'll ever step down. She'll be leading music somewhere.
Yeah, she will. What a woman. And Gary just and his dad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a wonderful. We just had some wonderful people to live with around there, including you guys. Here you are.
Here I am.
And why leave? Why leave when you're in a little touch of heaven right there, you know, and you're doing good, and you don't care about trying to go establish yourself somewhere else.
A lot of those kids, you know, in that area with the Joy Singers got to travel a whole lot that they may not have gotten to before, from South Dakota to St. Louis, Missouri, to Miami, to New Hampshire. I mean, the Joy Singers went all over the United States in the summers.
Yeah, I would get with the Southern Baptist people and ask them where they needed somebody like us, and they'd give us some help,
Mm-hmm.
help pave the way a little bit. And
Yeah.
Of course, when you got a Judy Bates.
Yeah.
Ooh, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, this is how I remember it. I'm not sure this is how it happened, but I remember Judy making sure that we understood the music.
Yeah.
But I remember you were the one that set up all the things that we were doing and all the
Yeah.
places that we were going.
Yeah, I just wanted you all to get a picture of as wide as we could give,
Mm-hmm.
and we were needed in those areas.
Sure.
Yeah, we could spread we were needed.
Yeah. So when you look back over your life from, growing up, athletics, medical school, military life, community service, all those things, because you've touched a lot of areas, what would you want your legacy to be?
Oh, Lee, I hope I don't have to want. I hope that the Lord is pleased with it, and that's all that really matters. You don't have many times He has bailed me out one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from the people that you've influenced, me being one of them, you've really made a difference in the community that you live in. And when we wanted to do this show, you were one of the first people that I thought of, because I think you've got a very, very, very important story to tell. And I think there'll be a lot of people that see this show that really appreciate you taking the time to do it. So,
Yeah,
Doc, on behalf of
my pleasure.
of ACTV and myself, thank you very much for coming in today. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, sir.
you're the best.
And you for your film work. And I got my daughter over here and her husband. We're both strong Christians, and his dad is a minister, and she's got a really great mother and brothers and sisters. So anyhow, and this guy here, he's been a joy.
I can't wait to tell my mom you said that.
He's always been joyful. It's easy to go through life when you're joyful, and you can bring out the humor and sincerity and connect the two.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much, and I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you being on our show. Thank you, Doc.
Yes, sir.